What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Horror Heads podcast. I am Rich Mallory here with my co-host Jerry Lorenko.
Hey, how's it going?
Going pretty well. You could follow us on Instagram at Horror Heads Podcast or email us your love and hate at horrorheadspodcast@gmail.com. So we're supposed to have a guest on tonight, but scheduling things happened, and that guest is no longer going to be here. So it's just the two of us flying. I was going to say solo, but we're not flying solo. Um, but we will have that guest on, I believe, the next episode. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about two new movies that just came out recently. We're going to talk about the Speak No Evil and the new remake of Salem's Lot. Before we kind of get into that, though, I just a few things really quick. So we've been talking about it for the past couple episodes, but my movie Maid Droid Origins just released about a week and a half ago. So you can check it out on Tubi TV or on Amazon Video. And I will say that after like a week or so, we've already had, I believe, over 700,000 people have watched it on Tubi TV. So that's super exciting.
God damn, that's awesome, dude. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Super, super happy about it. Super proud of it. Just need to keep it going. So if you haven't watched it yet, it's a sci-fi thriller with some horror elements. It's got a little bit of sexiness, got some AI sexy robots in maid outfits, a little bit of two female robots kissing. And yeah, it's a really cool movie. You should all check it out.
Yeah, I checked it out. It was awesome. And if this movie was a record, you would be on your way to platinum, dude. So that's pretty
Woo!
awesome. So
Get that plaque on my wall, baby. That's what I
yeah, so
need.
that's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, and so that's that. So yeah, check out Maid Droid Origins, and if you like that film, you could check out the movie. It is a sequel to Maid Droid, but you don't need to watch both of them to understand the other. They're kind of standalone stories. One movie. So a lot of people talking about the new Terrifier film. I'm a huge
Yeah.
fan, as I've said before in this show. I went to the theater on a Saturday at 10:30 a.m. to go see Terrifier
Bold.
3. Yeah, both.
10:30,
10:30
you
a.m.
don't know what you're gonna find at 10:30 a.m.
And just surprisingly, like I thought there'd be no people in the theater because I'm like, who in their right mind is going to go see Terrifier 3 before breakfast? But it was actually pretty crowded. Everybody was a good crowd though. Nobody kind of yelled or anything like that. But I will give my review of the movie since I don't know if you're going to see it or not. But I thought it was awesome. I loved it. Again, I am a huge fan of the movies. I will say that I feel this was the best out of the three, and I'll kind of talk about why. So I really did like Terrifier 2. I did feel it is way too long, kind of confusing. It was a little over the place. This one, I felt it was still long. It was just under 2 hours, but it felt shorter. And I felt they did a great job of kind of really building on the lore of Art the Clown. I felt that they kind of tied up a lot of the confusing things that were in part two and kind of wrote it in a way that made sense. And again, like with these films, like if people go into them, like a horror fan goes into them, it's like a lot of people are not going to like it. It's not for everybody because it's over the top gore and violence, which you like if you're not like, and again, this is like crazy gore and violence if you haven't seen these movies, like ridiculous shit happens. And it's also got like an element of humor. Like Art the Clown, he's a clown. And it's like you got to get into the vibe and find if you don't find him funny, like you're not going to kind of understand these movies. I personally like just the way he kind of reacts to certain things, I think is really hysterical. And I think they really upped the humor in this movie a lot. And I think another thing too, it's like again, these movies they're slasher movies, they're fun slasher movies. And I think the critique they get a lot is that they're poorly written. And I wouldn't say this was like brilliantly written, but there were a lot of themes that came up in it, like trauma surviving and about obsession with true crime that I thought were handled really well. And I think they took like each one kind of tops the violence and gore. And there was some crazy shit that happens in this. Like there's a chainsaw, there's someone getting frozen with liquid nitrogen and body parts smashed. There's a scene where Art the clown is pretending to be a mole Santa. That the way that scene ends is I am shocked that they put this in a movie because it's while it's kind of off screen a little bit, like the implication is insane. And yeah, they really went for it, man. And I give them a lot of credit. And here you go, $2 million movie that's already made like 20 million in the box office. So they're doing something right. And yeah, I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. I mean they definitely planted the flag for like a new, slasher villain that's going to be an icon. I'm slowly getting into this series. I did watch part two just a few nights ago for the horror challenge, and it's growing on me a little bit more. I still kind of prefer the first one, and that's probably just due to like the tempo and just really like, what's happening in the film. Part two still feels a little dense to me. I will check out part three for sure. I did look around my local theaters, just their times are just really not lining up with my insane October schedule at the moment. So maybe I'll catch it in the theater, or maybe I'll just wait for it to stream soon, I hope. But I'm definitely gonna watch it. But that's cool that they really are pushing the limits on gore, because honestly, by the time you get to part three, most people would probably like try to go a little Hollywood and really kind of pull back on it and really kind of cash in on what they created. But I like they're keeping it real, and they're doing their thing. So that's cool.
Yeah, they definitely did. They made it for the fans. Like they did not, I think they just assumed the fans will find it. They did not make this to be a mainstream Hollywood movie. They went for it, I think. And you're right, the second one is very dense. This one is dense too, but it's not as dense. And I think it's just because it kind of makes a little more sense. And it does tie a lot back to the first one too, the way they kind of worked in the mythology. It's like, yeah, it definitely like kind of acknowledges and includes a lot of stuff from the first one and the second one in this one. So again, if you're a fan, you're gonna love it. If you're like not a fan, you're probably not. But like, I will say it is the best one of the three by far. So yeah, check it out.
I mean, I gotta give the guy credit, Damien Leone. He probably realized some of the issues, and he's correcting them as he moves on, instead of just kind of forgetting about them. He's trying to pull it all together and make like this universe and have it make sense. And again, I have to appreciate that. I'm not going to knock anyone who has a new slasher film that's doing so well. Slasher is one of my top three favorite genres. I'm not gonna knock it. It's just clowns aren't my thing, so that's really like probably the biggest wall I have, but I'm getting into it. There's a lot of films that once I watched them enough, they became like, my favorite films. So we'll see how this one turns out.
Yeah, and it's like any slasher movie, right? If you don't like not identify with, but if you can't get into the vibe of the killer, then it's kind of like what's the point, right? Because basically the people are just kind of victims for them, and so I totally get that. But yeah, so that's Terrifier 3, and my glowing recommendation for it. I would probably, I mean, I just saw it in the theater. I would probably give that maybe a Five Bloody Knife movie. I really loved it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Holy
I loved
cow.
it. Maybe 4.5, maybe 5. I might just be glowing because again, see it in theater and like
Yeah.
super excited to see it. But yeah. So okay, that's enough about my experiences with Terrifier and me self-promoting my own film. Let's get into some drinking because I plan to do that. And I have a three-quarter full bottle of something called Green River, Kentucky
What?
Straight.
Are you are
Is
you
that what you
kidding
got?
me?
No.
No, I literally just bought it
Are you
yesterday. Oh my
serious?
God, that exact one. Holy cow, that's
Wow.
awesome.
That is
I
a
didn't
small
I,
world.
I didn't even crack it yet. All right, I can't wait.
Yeah, I just saw it, never seen it before, and just happened to buy it. It's Kentucky Straight Bourbon, another sour mash. I did sour mash last week too. Wow, that is such a small world. Yeah, I've
Dude, this
never.
is this is has to be one in a million. So just to, I don't know if this is an interesting story or not, but literally my wife was in the liquor store the other day, and she's like, "Do you need anything?" I'm like, "I always need something for
Yeah.
the podcast." So she literally took a picture of the aisle, and she sent me the picture of the aisle, and I just scanned on the aisle, and there was something about that exact bottle, and I chose it. And she's like, I can't believe you chose that one. She's like, I never would have picked that one out for you. I'm like, I don't know. There's just something about that bottle. So that bottle is like kind of half round, and then it's kind of square in the front, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, and
so cool looking. Yeah.
it's really cool looking. It's kind of like Art Deco in a weird way. Yeah, it's funny. Like, yeah, and I try to like I think we talk about this. I try to get something I've never tasted before a lot of the time. Sometimes I go back to a classic, but I try to drink something different. And yeah, I never saw this before, so I'm gonna let you know how it is. And I'm gonna pour some right now. What do you got there?
I have something here called Brothers Bond Original Cast Strength. Now, a lot of people like to knock this bourbon, Brothers Bond, because it's those two guys, those two actors from Vampire Diaries. It's Yeah, it's Ian Somerhalder and Paul Wesley. And I think they make a good product. So I've actually had their original one before, and I like pre-ordered it, and I was one of the first actually 100 people to get it. And I was very excited about it. And I think I paid about probably at that time $100 for that bottle. Because it was, they didn't know they were going to continue. This bottle here is actually still pretty expensive. It's about an 85, $90 bottle here. So It's a heavy, heavy proof, 115. So I'm
Ooh,
gonna take a
oh
sip,
shit.
and we'll talk about what we have. So, hey, man,
Cheers.
here's a cheers to you and 1 million streams. There you
Yeah.
go.
Ooh, this has a it's 45 90 proof, but it has a little bit of a bitter, sorry, a little bit of a bigger kick than I thought. And yeah, speaking of the price in that Brothers Bond, I see it all the time, but I'm always priced out. I'm always like, I don't know if I want to spend that on something I don't know. So yeah, what do you thinking? And then I'll give you my thoughts on the Green River.
Oh, it tastes like a barrel. It is cast strength, man. It's heavy, it's fiery, it's let me take another sip here. Oh man, I can't get you know what? I can't get past the heat, but there's a little smokiness right at the end, probably from sitting, without being filtered from the barrel. But outside of that, I'm getting like intense heat that is still with me right now. And I took that sip probably about 10, 15 seconds ago, and a little smokiness. Do I like it? I think so. It's gonna be hard to drink this all night though.
Yeah, you should have
How's the
put it in
Green
the.
River?
So here's my take on it. It's not really smooth. It has a craft taste to it, which you might like. I'm not a huge fan of the craft bourbons, to be honest with
Okay.
you. That's kind of again, I'm trying to think of like I don't taste any. It's not sweet. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I say this all the time. It tastes grainy. I don't know how to describe that.
Yeah.
It's like it just kind of cuts a little bit. It's not something I would buy personally, but I'm also again I'm not really a big fan of craft. I like bourbons that again have more of that caramel smooth flavor, which this does not. It kind of almost, even though it says sour mash, it kind of feels more like a rye to me, which I gotta really be in the mood for that. So that's, look, I'll drink it. It's drinkable. It's not terrible. It's just not what I would buy.
Man, I hope that's just not the same Green River as the Green River Killer that killed like a whole bunch of people.
Actually, you know what? Sorry. Now that I've had a couple of sips and gotten over that, I am starting to taste some sweetness. I didn't get it right away because it just kind of hit me. But yeah, it is okay. It's a little sweeter now that I'm like 4 sips in. Okay, maybe I'll change my mind.
I'm excited to try it, and it's the exact one I have slated for the next podcast. So
Okay.
it was on deck, and I can't believe that you whipped that out right now, and I probably ruined that whole segment because I got very excited, but that was a real reaction. So I apologize because like literally we did not talk about this, and you literally pulled out the bottle that I just bought yesterday. So it's crazy. It's
Well,
crazy.
I won't be drinking Brothers Bond next week because I can't afford it. So so this might be the only time this happens.
You know what? I don't know if I recommend this one. If you do get a Brothers Bond, I would stick with the straight bourbon, the original. This one's fiery, man. I'm feeling it already, and I drink a lot of bourbon, and I'm starting to feel it already. So it's gonna be
So
a
bef
long night.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so before we get into like the two movies we're going to talk about later, Speak No Evil and Salem's Lot, last week we kind of kicked off your Horror Heads October challenge. And for those of you who did not listen, a lot of people do this, and and everybody does it their own way. And Jerry's been kind of doing this for God knows how long. And for those of you who aren't aware, what it is every day in October. Jerry created a different genre or theme, and the goal is to watch a different movie every night of the week based on that theme. So, like for example, October 1st was Home Invasion. So the idea would be to watch some kind of home invasion movies. And again, we talked about this last time. It's like there are a lot of movies. I think there's 35 movies in total because there's some double up days. You don't need to watch it on that day. It's like just the idea is like get them all in October. So by the time we get to October 31st, you're caught up. So you could watch 4 movies in one day, skip a couple days because I know I can't watch a movie every night. So I'm definitely not all the way caught up. I think I got to the 11th.
Oh,
But
okay.
what I wanted to do is kind of like go through like some of the movies that you've been watching. I'll talk
Yeah.
about some of the ones I've been watching. So
Hell
since this
yeah.
is your challenge, and they could find this challenge on Facebook, they could find it on our Instagram. Definitely kind of play along. And even if you haven't caught up yet, like feel free to like just jump in. And like again, if the idea is not just to like watch a bunch of movies, but just to discover new stuff or to rediscover movies you haven't seen in a long time. Some of them are going to be good, some of them are going to suck, but that's where we're at. So let's kick it off. Let's go day by day as to like where we're at so far. So why don't you kind of go through it and I'll kind of tell you what I'm watching and you can tell me what you're watching.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can't believe we're already at the halfway point basically today, which is crazy because I feel like October is just flying by. I did have a few hiccups with some, nights where I had to miss due to an obligation or a concert or something like that. I had to go hard like the next day or things like that. So, but I am actually caught up and I am on the current theme for tonight. So I could definitely go through what I've been watching and kind of just talk about like some highlights and maybe some new stuff that I never saw before or maybe some stuff that I rewatched. So. First night was Home Invasion. I watched Don't Breathe. We talked about this in a previous podcast. We both like it. I still think on the rewatch, it's a great film and it has a crazy twist, and I highly recommend it for anyone who's interested in that.
Yeah,
Um,
and I watched Don't Breathe for a different category. I actually watched it for night two, which was Midwest horror, because I believe it takes place in Detroit. Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of this movie too. And again, it's interesting because like you have these movies and there's a twist, and then once you know the twist, it's like, is the movie good? I think this movie holds up even knowing the twist, just because the pacing is really good. I think the writing is good, the suspense is really good. Like it's you really kind of get into the vibe of this movie, and it is a fucked up movie. The twist is really fucked up and dark. And yeah, I think it's like one of those ones that like I throw on all the time. Huge fan of this movie. Huge fan of the genre in general of home
oh
invasion, but
yeah.
I would say out of the home invasion movies, I wouldn't say this is my favorite one, but it's definitely like top five favorite home invasion movies for sure. I noticed they made a sequel, which I tried to watch once and I couldn't get into it for some reason. And I don't know why. I think I wasn't in the right mood for it. And I think I watched like half of it and turned it off, but it also might have been on my phone. Did you see the sequel?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen the second one quite a few times. I probably watched it like 4 or 5 times. I think it's vicious, man.
Yeah, I'll have to
And
give
there's
it like a
another.
rewatch.
Yeah, there's a strange twist in that one too. Nothing at all like the twist in this one. Not as shocking, but there is a strange connection there. But I say try watching it when you can. I think it does have a great atmosphere, and there's a lot of like you see a lot of different parts about the main character that maybe you didn't in the first film. So I think it's worth watching. And speaking of home invasion, I think we definitely need to tackle this for season two. It's definitely one of our favorite genres. And I mean, there's just so many things you could choose. And you kind of feel like that anxiety trying to choose just one. And every single year I screw it up. And I normally watch something that's stupid and I just fuck up the whole day and I'm disappointed in myself. But this year I got it right. Don't Breathe was great. What did you watch?
Yeah, so I was actually going to try something new, but I also didn't want to fuck up this category.
Yep, exactly.
And there was a movie that I've been meaning to watch again that I've seen before a couple of times, and I've been meaning to watch it again just because like I just love the style of it, and I've been like kind of trying to get inspiration from it. I watched the 2010 Spanish movie Kidnapped,
Oh yeah, yes, yes.
which is a
Awesome.
brutal film, and just like the way it's done is incredible and impactful, and it's a fucked up movie for sure. Um, but I love it, and I was really happy to watch it again. And the reason why I want to watch it again is they do something with a split screen in that movie that is really cool and creative and effective. And I was like, I wonder how they did that. I forgot, and I want to rewatch it for that. So I would highly recommend Kidnapped. It's subtitled. You got to deal with it. But the movie it doesn't let up. Once it gets going, it does not let up.
So unfortunately, I think there is an American remake, and I do not recommend that one. I mean, it's still a home invasion film, but it just doesn't have that impact as the Spanish one. And I think they duplicate that split screen. I think they do it in the American version, but again, just not the same feel.
Yeah, I mean, and we're gonna get into like a remake of a European film a little bit later when we talk about Speak No Evil. But I mean, that's always the case, right? I mean, I think it's very like it's like you could there are remakes I think that are better than the original, but I can't think of like a foreign remake that is. I'm sorry, an American remake of a foreign film that's better. I mean, it's almost
Rarely.
like I can't think of one, and we'll probably get into that a little bit later. So okay, so that's what we did for Home Invasion. For Midwest, I told you I did Don't Breathe. What'd you do?
I did the Crazies. I haven't watched it in a long time. Really why I
Original or
chose
remake?
it. So I did do the remake. Takes place in Iowa. I think the first hour of this film was fantastic, and then it takes like a really weird turn and gets kind of Hollywoodish. And I really don't know. I really don't get it at the end, and I kind of like logged off, and it really lost me. So I can't believe a movie that had such a great beginning had such a terrible end, but I don't recommend this one.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, I know I seen it years ago, but I could not remember anything about it. Cool. What was the third night was a film from Neon, which we talked about Neon. We talked about Neon recently, as part of an episode. So I rewatched Infinity Pool, which the first time I watched it, I really loved it. Second time, I didn't love it as much, but I also watched it with somebody who was seeing it for the first time who didn't like it. I could tell they were getting really bored with it, and I think that kind of made me be like, "What is this boring or is it not?" I think it's insanely creative. I believe it's Brandon Cronenberg was the director of that, and I'm actually a big fan. I love his other two movies, Possessor and Antiviral. I think are really good. Even though he's nepo, like he does, and he makes good films. Uh, they're really creative, and I do like Infinity Pool. And again, if you're a Mia Goth fan, I think it's worth checking out. She's really good in it. I would say she's better in this than she is in Maxine and those other movies. But it's a weird fucking movie, man, and you got to get into the vibe of it. It's different, but I really liked it. So again, I liked it better the first time I saw it because I think it was so new and this time I kind of knew all the twists and I knew everything, so it was a little different. But it's still really good filmmaking. Although he does a lot of things with close-ups in it that were like bizarre choices that I was like that like lots of close-ups of like mouths and stuff that I don't remember picking up on. That again, it's artistic choices, but it's different. What did you watch?
Yeah, so I rolled the dice and I watched something new. I watched Cuckoo. I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no idea what I watched. It was a really complicated plot once you really got into it. The beginning of it was cool. Like I was actually really happy with it. Like the first half hour, I'm like, all right, this is cool. Like this is a really cool vibe. This is a good feel. I like the characters. I like what's going on here. And then it just lost me like with the plot. And I mean, there was like minimal scares, I would say, just a couple, and it just wasn't enough to hold it. I know people are probably going to disagree and say this is the best film ever created on Earth. I'm gonna have to disagree because again, would you watch it again? Would you watch it over and over again? I don't think this film has any of those qualities to make you want to watch it. So I didn't particularly love this film, and if I was rating it right now, I'd probably give it a two because it just wasn't for me.
I've actually heard that from someone else who watched it recently, and they said that yeah, they watched it and they're like, I actually couldn't tell you what it was about. Um,
I tried. I'm kind of intelligent, not really, but I feel like I could, pick out a plot, but this was tough. There was just a lot of layers to it, maybe too much for this particular film and too much for what they were trying to do. Could have been awesome. That's the sad part is that it probably could have been the best film of the year, but it wasn't.
cool. So what was up next?
High school or college horror, which, you could kind of interpret this many ways. You could think of it just like teen horror. You could do a lot of things with this. And I left this open. And I think it's really important for this year. What I really want to do is I want to take out a lot of the heaviness from like the previous years that I did this. So I want to keep like a lot of these like themes and genres kind of open and just make sure like there's all like bangers in here that you're going to enjoy like every single night and you're not spending too much time on like really heavy, films and kind of getting like fatigue as you get through the list. And I've made that mistake before. I got, really detailed and it just didn't feel the same. So I want to keep this one upbeat and fun. And plus we knew we were going to share it out. So I tried to make it, a little more uh I guess open to interpretation. So for this one, I did Jennifer's Body, and there's a reason I did this. It's because I go to this horror trivia thing every couple of months, and there's always like two or three questions about Jennifer's Body for some reason. I get, the person that runs it, I guess, is a fan of this film. So I was like, you know what, I got to see what this hype is about. I have to know what it's about. I never watched it. Megan Fox is in it. It's kind of dumb.
Hmm.
That's it. That's all I got on this one.
So, like it's like I've seen the movie a bunch of times, and every time I watch it, I do like it a little less.
Less. Okay.
Yeah, it's like the first time I watched it, I really liked it because I think what again the complaint I have about this movie, it was written by Diablo Cody, who tends to do very like trendy kind of dialogue and tries to be very clever with the dialogue, which doesn't age well. And at the time, it was probably very current and very hip, and now you watch it and it's kind of cringy. So like it's a little hard to get into movies like that because you just gotta again that's why you gotta write for timeless dialogue. It's like it doesn't hold up. However, there are things I like about it. Like I like again Mega Fox is good. Amanda Seyfried is always great. Like they're hot. Like and it is a fun kind of movie. And I like the like idea of it, but it's like you said, it's not heavy. It's like something you just put on. Like I feel like it's a movie that like anybody can watch, like a non-horror fan can get, especially if you're on like a date and you just want to put a movie on. Like it's probably a good movie to put on, I would think, because most likely the if you're with a female, they're probably gonna like get into it maybe more than you. Um, it's my opinion on that one. Oh, so what did
What'd
I
you watch?
watch? Yeah, so usually when we do these challenges, I try to watch a lot of new stuff or stuff I haven't watched in a long time. And I didn't really get to anything new in the beginning of the challenge because now I'm just kind of I'm editing, so it's like I don't have a lot of attention span, so I've been watching things I've watched before. And kind of how similar to you, like we're rewatching all the bad Halloween movies recently.
Oh
Like
yeah. Yes.
I've been rewatching the Elm Street movies
Oh.
recently. And look, I'm a big fan of some of them and some but some of them are just awful. So for this one I did watch Nightmare on Elm Street 4, which isn't good. However, it still entertains me, and it's like probably the last one that I could say I enjoy watching. I really like the first one. Second one I actually watched a couple years ago for a horror movie you hate because I always hated it, and I actually like that a bit now. Third one I really like. Again, I wouldn't say it's good, but I really like it. And fourth one is kind of really bad and cheesy, but I do still kind of like it. So I watched that. And then going on that tip, the next night was double up, watch part five and part six of a movie. So I kept it going with the Elm
No.
Street, which was a mistake because and I haven't seen part five or part six in a very long time. And I will say they're both awful, terrible. Part five is pretty much unwatchable. It is really bad. It is like they should have just killed it, like it basically kind of killed the franchise. And I think they made one more movie with part six, which is just as bad, but I think if I had to pick one, I'd probably watch part six. But they're both completely unwatchable movies that like I hope to never watch again. Again, unless I'm forgetting and just like, oh, let me watch all the Elm Street movies. So yeah, I watched part four, five, and six in a row, which was not a good idea.
Wow, that's a lot of Freddy. So when I created this theme, I had something very, very specific in mind because I'm trying to get into something. So I have a friend, Aggie, what's up, bro? And this is his favorite film series. So he always talks about whenever I see him, he's always talking about it, and I have nothing to add to the conversation because I don't watch any of these films, and those films are Saw, and it's Saw 5 and I watched Saw 6. And the last time I saw him, he was going on about Saw 6, like and all like the cool traps, and he was showing me like all the videos and stuff like that. So I'm like, you know what? I am going to watch Saw 5 and 6 for this particular theme and see what I think. So I'm gonna say they're okay. I mean, it's not bad. They're okay. Better than I thought. I guess the best part is that they're new to me. I haven't watched really any Saws. I watched the first one when it came out, whatever year that was, and then they just kind of fell off my radar. In a situation like this, I probably would have watched like Wrong Turn, and that probably would have been a better
Yeah.
selection for me because I do like those films. But yeah, I mean, it was new. Am I going to continue to watch Saw? I'm going to be honest with you. I think so. I think I'm going to try to watch some more. So maybe it worked.
Yeah, so here's the thing, my opinion on Saw. I love the Saw movies, and I would say that most of them are I would say they're bad, but at least they're like watchable, but they're not good. They're basically the same movie over and over again. They just get more ridiculous. But it's like a guilty pleasure, and I do put the Saw movies on all the time. It's kind of nostalgic to me because I used to go to the movies with my mom to go see the Saw movies. Again, I was as an adult, but like it was one thing every Saw was coming out, we'd go to the movies. And it was always fun to kind of do that and experience that. I could not tell you which is part five versus part six. They do kind of feel very interchangeable to me. I know they're different, but like I couldn't, once you get to that point, I forget what is what. I will say with the Saw films, if you want to like get into them, the second one might be the best. The third one's really good too. And I was a big fan of the last one they did, Saw 10, which surprising that part 10 would be good, but I felt like it was really well done and effective. And I would definitely recommend watching those three. I'd probably watch, if I was going to tell you to watch a Saw movie, I'd probably say watch the last one that they did, and then maybe go back and kind of like watch them in order, maybe. Because they do kind of like, they always kind of go back to previous ones. So like there's a lot of callbacks and stuff like that. So it's kind of helpful to watch them in order. But yeah, like they're a guilty pleasure of mine. I'll watch those all the time. When I just need something to put on, I will put on Saw.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna check them out. And I did accidentally watch the one with Chris Rock last year. I did not know it was a Saw film, and then like 25 minutes into it, I'm like, I am so lost. And then I realized what was going on, that it's a Saw film, and I was like, oh, and I didn't particularly like that one, so I was a little reluctant to check these out. But these are more true, I guess, to the film series. And again, like I said, I'm probably going to start from the beginning and work my way through it in November or December when this challenge is over.
Yeah, I think Spiral was the one with Chris Rock was trying to be like a reboot and they were going to go in a different direction and it didn't work. So then they like ended up not like pursuing that anymore. And they're like, you know what, we kind of need um, John Kramer. We need Jigsaw, otherwise it's not going to work. Which is why they brought him back for part 10, even though he's, you know, died in like the second one, basically. Or the third one. Sorry, he dies in the third one, but like, you know, he's in all of them somehow. And then next up was something really bloody. And I believe we both watched Terrifier
Mm,
2 for that, which we don't need to talk more about Terrifier
yeah,
because we already did.
yeah, it was
Uh,
bloody.
yeah, definitely bloody.
I think we both agree it was definitely really bloody. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't get much bloodier than Terrifier 2, other than maybe Terrifier 3. Next night up was local urban legend, right? Is that the topic?
Yeah, or folklore. Yeah, whatever you could find. I kept it pretty open just in case you didn't have like a local legend or urban legend anywhere in your state or town or whatever. So
Oh, it
I
was meant
kept
to
that
be
one
like
open.
local. Okay, I actually just watched a
Local.
movie.
Yeah.
Oh, so I should have watched something for California. I didn't do that.
No, or
Okay.
folk. So it was basically just kind of encompassing because I didn't know like what people had or where they lived.
Yeah, so I actually watched a movie I found on Prime. It was called The Devil Below, which is a fairly recent, I think it came out last year. And basically, I forget where it takes place, but there's basically a town that just like disappeared. It was like a mining town that just disappeared. And these people go to kind of investigate what it was, what happened there. And what they find is that they were, I guess, mining and that they uncovered underground either like a gateway to hell or like just a whole nother race of like subhuman creatures living down there, and these people have to basically survive. It's a very slow burn. I actually did enjoy it though. It's a slow burn, and I think what they did was effective. Is there's a lot of like there's these creatures, and up until kind of like the very end, they do a great job of like not exactly showing you like how bad they look. Because again, it's like a lower budget movie, and it is guys in costumes, right? But like they do a good job of kind of like showing them fast or hiding them or just like, and you know, it's would it would I watch it again? Probably not. But if you want to watch something different, like it's not bad. So that was The Devil Below. It's okay. It was watchable. Better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, you gotta try them, right?
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of almost like The Descent. Not as good,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and they're mostly above ground, and at some point they go underground. But it was kind of similar to that, just not as good. 'Cause I really love The Descent, so it's similar to that. And it's funny because like you see the creatures in, and you're like, oh, that when you do see them, like, okay, that kind of does look bad. But then I'm thinking like, you know what? They don't look good in A Quiet Place either, and that's like a $100 million movie. So
Yeah,
like,
it's a huge film. Yeah. Yeah, good point. Yeah. So I checked out a film that was part of the Amityville canon
oh
called
shit.
Amityville Mount Misery, and this checked off a lot of boxes for me because Mount Misery is a place in Huntington, and it's a
I
place
actually
I
didn't
used
know
to go
that.
to
Never
as
heard
a
of it.
kid. Yeah. Oh, it's a Sweet Hollow Road,
Oh,
essentially.
okay, got it. Yes.
Yeah, so it's the same thing. Like they're kind of like interchangeable. They're very close. They're like adjacent to each other. So, but yeah, so I was pretty hyped up because not only was it an Amityville film, but it was really kind of taking on something from Long Island, and mentioning it in the title. And I could tell you 100% that these actors were from Long Island because they have the same shitty accent that I have. So I was like, all right, it was pretty bad acting. It ended up kind of being like the Blair Witch, essentially, where these two people who are trying to solve this, mystery of Mount Misery gets lost in the woods, and things happen to them in the woods, and that's really it. So it ended up being pretty much like Blair Witch.
Was it found footage?
Yes, yes, it
Okay.
was it was found footage, I would say 80% of the time. And I mean these people, they were go-getters, man. They totally were guerrilla filming on like a flight, you know? Like you could tell that they weren't supposed to be filming, and they were like trying to film their scene like on the flight because they were really on a plane. So I give them credit for that, but I don't think it was a good film.
Yeah, I mean it's Amityville movie, right? Yeah, and for those who don't know, on Long Island there's a road called Sweet Hollow Road, and it's a very dark road, almost through like the woods. And I remember as a teenager, kind of like driving around there and getting
Yeah.
getting spooked out. So it's definitely something to check
Yeah,
out.
it was fun, and I really thought that this would kind of play on some of that fun, but it didn't. So it didn't raise any nostalgia for me. So
Bummer.
it's all right. I move on, and that's what the challenge is about. It's about watching something, and now you know about it. You either watch it again or you never think about it. So I think our next theme was haunt or haunted house, and this is always a fun one. This is always a good one because this could kind of like check off two boxes. Like if you're into like the paranormal, haunted house is awesome. But if you're not really into it like me, I always leave like a haunt, and you could kind of do like one of those haunts that you go to. And that's usually what I choose because I like that more than the paranormal effect. So I went with Haunt, Rich,
Oh,
which I know I
nice.
talked about. Or yeah, it's a great film. It's fast, it's bloody. I like the killers. I like the set design. I just think this is probably one of the best films in the last, I don't know, 10 years or so. I think it's a great film. I wear the shirt often. I talk about it as much as I can. I like it a lot. So I don't think I need to say much about it other than if you haven't watched it, don't get caught up on the dumb name. It's a good film. I think maybe that's what stopped me. It just has a boring name. You're like, what is this? But it's a very good film.
Yeah, and I actually was going to watch that one too because it is really good. And there are multiple films called Haunt. This is the one that's actually about a haunted attraction. So watch that one.
Yes.
Don't watch the other Haunt and be like, oh, this movie sucked. So I was gonna watch that, but I wanted to try something new. So I did watch this movie called The Maze, which is about a bunch of 20-year-olds who go to a corn maze at night and get stalked by a killer.
I like that.
Yeah, the movie was terrible though. I mean, look, it was
No?
really it was really low budget, and like it was apparent that it was low budget. And I think, look, I make low budget movies, I get it, but I felt like they could have they could have made it better basically. Like, it just wasn't good. It wasn't interesting. Like the kills were kind of like confusing. They didn't really show much. It's the whole thing takes place at night, and like it's dark, and like if you're gonna do that, you kind of need to have like lighting and like actually good cameras and stuff, and they did not. And again, look, at low budget movie, just I didn't find it interesting. It was kind of boring, and it takes forever to get going. That was another piece of it that I didn't like. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend The Maze. Next up was Isolation horror. Is that right?
Hell yeah.
And I watched this movie I hadn't seen before. I found it on Amazon. I think it was called In Fear, and it was an Irish movie
Ooh,
from a couple of years ago, I believe. And we were just talking about Irish horror, and it's basically this like newly dating couple goes on some kind of road trip in the backwoods of Ireland to get to this place, and they get lost. And it's like the roads are like really kind of narrow, and it's all woods. And as it kind of goes on, while they're just lost for like a day or two, you find out that like one of them may have like a secret. And you're kind of trying to figure out like what happened, and like, is it something supernatural stalking them? Are they in hell? It's like one of those kind of movies. It was well done. It was very well done. It is a slow burn. It's something I will probably never watch again, but for like if you just want to watch something that's like a little creepy, a little unsettling, it's decent. It's pretty good. Again, I don't know if a repeat watch is going to be like interesting to me because it is a little slow, but it's pretty creepy, and I thought they did a great job with it. So that was called In Fear.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. And this theme, this isolation theme, is the first time we ever used this one. So I was excited to kind of see like what other people would choose and what they would pick and really how it played out. And it sounded like your film was okay. I liked the film that I watched. I watched this film called The Strings, and this was like a super creepy, atmospheric film about this girl who seems like that she was in a band at some point and there was a falling out and now she's on her own. So she travels to like this beach town in the middle of the winter. So it's completely isolated. There's absolutely nobody there except for her. And she stays at this house basically to record some new music on her own and kind of get away from everything that was happening back in her hometown. And really, I mean, it's just like this snowy, cold, atmospheric, creepy setting. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of paranormal activity going on, and I'm gonna be honest, it gave me the chills a little bit, and that doesn't happen too often. So there was definitely some creepy vibes going on there. It's called The Strings. I think it's on Shutter right now. It doesn't have a good rating, but you know what? What do people know? Fuck them. I recommend it.
Yeah, I have that on my I have that on my list of things I wanna check out because I think someone else told me about it and I wanted to check it out. So yeah, that does sound interesting. I would definitely watch that. Um, and then I only did one more night. And then I tap out. So far, I have a lot to catch up. And anthology is kind of getting me because like I just haven't been in the mood. Anthology is the next one up for me, and I just haven't been in the mood to watch an anthology
Oh,
because I'm
did you do
curious.
Masked Killer?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, that's why I'm kind of stuck. I need to pick an anthology. So maybe you could tell me what you watched. But yeah, so for Mass Killer, there's so many ways you can go, and I wish I went in a different direction because I watched this movie. It's a Tubi original called Pray for the Bride, and Pray is spelled Prey. And the mask killer is a guy wearing a wolf mask. And basically, what it is a bunch of women go on a bachelorette party to some house somewhere, and some bad shit apparently happened, and someone's trying to take revenge. And the movie starts off like interesting. It's like well done, but then it's basically like 20 other movies I've seen before. Like there's nothing interesting or different about it, and it's like again, it's a Tubi original, but I was like thinking like, oh, Low Lifes is really good, so like maybe this will be kind of like similar, something creative, but it's just a generic like paint by numbers like revenge type of movie. You've seen this movie before, so I would skip Pray for the Bride.
Yeah, d disappointing and such a good theme that you always want to like knock it out of the park and watch like a great film. I took no chances. I pulled out a classic Jerry and Rich film, and that film was Bloody Murder 2. And all
Oh
I have to say is
shit.
Tiffany Shepis is in it, and she's awesome and she's sexy as fuck. There's a lot of kills. A guy gets an axe right to the back and just like gets his legs chopped off and all sorts of gory, crazy, creative kills. I mean, it's a quick film. It's probably an exact duplicate of, Friday the 13th or, anything like that. But it was fun. I think it was good. It takes place in a camp. But all I can say is Tiffany Shepis is in it. And if you like her, you'll definitely like this film. And if you don't know who she is, if we're dating ourselves a little bit right now for maybe some younger people who may be listening, I say check her out, man. She was a screen queen back in the early 2000s, and it was great to see her again.
Yeah, and just a super cool like human being in general. But yeah, I forget when that movie came out, but I remember having it on DVD that I think I got in a used bin somewhere, and I used to watch it all the time.
Yep,
And I'm
all
glad
the
you watched it now.
time.
Like I was gonna say, I always meant to pick it up, but I'm like, well, I bet it doesn't hold up.
No,
Because
I
I'm
love it.
yeah, I used to really watch that movie a lot. That one and the other Tiffany Shepis movie that I love, The Hazing, is really
Yeah,
good
yeah,
too.
yeah. Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I think I know the scene you're thinking of, but yeah,
Yeah.
wearing
Yeah.
like some sort of space suit or
Yes,
something.
yes. I might want to
Yes.
find a way to fit that into the challenge this year if there's a theme for that one as I die.
Probably we passed it, probably high school, college, but there might be
Damn. All
something else.
right, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's all
And
right.
then I just said I didn't get to anthology yet, but like what'd you watch before we kind of move on
Okay,
to
yeah,
what
no
we're talking about?
problem. Yeah, so I watched and I usually mess this one up too whenever I include this one. I include this one once every 2, 3 years. So here's the thing. Let me preface this by saying I've tried to watch this film 10 times in my life, and every time I try to watch it, it just never works out for me. So I'm gonna rewind really quick here. A couple of months ago, I was in Chicago and it was really late at night. And my wife was passed out. I just wasn't tired. And I'm just flipping through like the 5 channels that the TV had. And I come across what appears to be a horror film. And I can't believe my luck because I'll literally watch anything because I'm not going to bed anytime soon. And that film was Trick or Treat. And I normally hate this film, but that night, the mood just kind of hit me and I kind of liked it. I said, you know what? I am going to watch that film again. I'm going to watch the unrated, uncut version of it, the non-TV version. Let me see what I think. So I did watch it this year for the challenge. I like it, I think Sam is cool. I think the stories are cool. I really, really like this film and I don't know what was wrong with me the previous times I tried to watch it. It's a good film.
You know what? I have a similar experience actually where I watched it years ago, did not like it, like kind of hated it and always been hating on it and
Yeah.
didn't get like the big deal. And then last year I was hanging out with a lady and they wanted to watch it and I was like, whatever, fine, I'll watch this. And I really liked it too. And now it's like in my rotation and I
Hell
actually
yeah.
really yeah, and again, same thing where I was like, ugh, I don't want to watch, but whatever, it makes you happy, I'll watch it. And no, it's actually really good. Yeah. I think you just got to get into the vibe of it, right? Because it's like it doesn't take itself very seriously. It's kind of like tongue in cheek. It's like if you're looking for like a serious horror movie, it's probably not that, but it is like, it's bloody, it's gory, and it's fun. And I definitely I like that movie.
Yeah, totally into it now. And I recommend it too. There are a lot of choices. There were a lot of new things that came out, a lot of things that popped up on Prime too that I never saw before. I'm like, you know what? I made a promise to myself that I was going to check this out. This is the perfect opportunity to do it. I did it and I'm happy. So is it a really original pick? No, but it's kind of new to me and I watched it in a new way and that's exactly why we do these challenges. It's to kind of revisit things or to watch something you never saw and maybe just get a new feeling. So now this will be a part of my rotation because I liked it.
Yeah, awesome. So, okay, so that's kind of like our updates on the Horror Heads Challenge. We'll talk more about it on the
Hell
next
yeah.
episode. Again, check it out on Instagram at Horror Heads Podcast, and you can kind of find the list of the 31 different topics and get into it and let us know what you're watching. Like tag us and post it, and we want to know. It gives us ideas for things to watch and things we might want to talk about on the show. So there are two movies that we do want to talk about tonight that we watched. One is Speak No Evil, which is a remake of either a Danish or a Dutch film, I forget, and Salem's Lot, which just dropped on Max. It's the remake of, I believe, a 1980s miniseries, and I think they made another miniseries years later. It's a Stephen King story. So, but before we talk about Speak No Evil, it's like I've been sipping this whole time. I know you've been drinking. You have that heavy proof. I do have a drinking game for us to play, um, and since we are talking about since we are talking about two remakes, I kind of want to like let's talk about some remakes here. So the challenge is I have a list of like 9 or 10 remakes, and I'm going to ask us both, did you like the remake better or the original better? And
Ooh.
so you don't know the list. Flip a coin as to what you want to drink for. Do you want to drink if you like the remake better than the original, or if you like the original better than the remake?
All right. I am going to drink if I like the remake.
Okay, so we're both. Well, I'll join that. So, and at home, if you're playing at home, like
Okay.
let's do that. If you like the remake better than the original, drink. Okay, I'm gonna list these films,
Okay.
and again, just gut reaction. So, I'm gonna start. Evil Dead,
Remake.
same,
Shit.
same. I like the remake a
I
lot better. I do, and we just
was gonna
watched the
watch that for
original.
Bloodiest.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
the
and I was
I
gonna watch
love
that
the
for
remake.
Bloodiest. It's so bloody, the remake. It's a great film.
Yeah, I'm looking at my list now, and I'm like, I don't know what we made the right choice or not. Okay, Friday the 13th,
Oh
and
shit.
talking
A
about the original
remake.
remake, same.
Remake.
Same. It's funny because people always talk shit about remakes, right? And like, but like some of them like are better. There's some of them are worse. And I don't mean again American remakes of European films. I mean American remakes of American films. or something like that, Not all of these are American films that I'm going to list. Okay, Hills Have Eyes.
I'm gonna go with the original on
Okay,
that one.
remake for me. I love the remake.
Oh wow, nice.
Strangers,
The original.
same, original, same. The Ring,
Oh, the original.
same. Dawn of the Dead.
Oh wow. That's tough. I know you're supposed to answer quickly. I like them both for different reasons, but I'm gonna go with the original on that one as well.
Same, same. All right, this one might get us. My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah, the remake.
Same.
Yeah, I like the original, but the remake was good. There's a ton of nudity in it as
Yeah,
well, so it's
yeah,
pretty.
yeah.
I actually just watched it in September, so I just watched it recently.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's a 3D, so it's got that, it's gimmicky, but it's
Hmm.
fun. And the original, like, is kind of boring. It drags a bit in the middle. Amityville Horror.
This is going to be a punch, but the
Oh,
remake and I'm going to say it. I love Amityville, but it's old, man, and it kind of shows its age at times, and it gets really, really slow. And I think where it gets slow, the remake kind of speeds up. So I'm sticking with it. I'm going with the remake. Don't send me hate mail unless you really have to.
yeah, because
You know?
if I run it back to the Amityville episode, I feel like we had a different opinion, but maybe it was just me. Maybe it was just me that hated on the remake and you were quiet. Yeah, I go original on that one. Next one. This one was tough for me, but I do have an opinion. Maniac.
So I don't know if I saw the remake. Can you fill me in on the
Yes.
remake a little bit? Like who was in it
Yeah, yeah.
or
So remake was Elijah Wood and it was all POV.
oh, Elijah Wood. Okay, yes. I'm gonna go with the original on that one.
Yeah, so I love the original. It's one of my all-time favorites. I really love the remake though. I just felt it was I've never seen a movie done POV like that and effective. And I watched the original all the time. I watched the remake all the time. If I had to pick, I'm picking the remake, so I'm gonna drink.
Really? So you're gonna drink? Okay.
Yeah, it's tough though.
I
They're both
think
really good, but they're very different movies. Like they're very
different.
different.
Yeah, I agree with that. My problem is probably stupid. It's just I'm not the biggest Elijah Wood
Yeah,
fan.
same,
That's all.
same. But you don't
Yeah,
really
I
see him
think
that
so.
often. It's mostly like you don't see him. If he was on camera more, I'd probably feel very different. Okay, last one I have is Suspiria.
Oh, the original for
Yeah,
sure.
remake is good. It's just too long, and they're very different movies. Original's like again one of my favorites, so I'm staying original there. Okay, so that was my drinking game. Not
Yeah, that was a pretty good drinking game, and I actually just watched the remake of Suspiria again in September. I don't know what was going on in my life in September. I was just trying to like cram in a ton of films, maybe because I had the freedom to choose what I wanted to watch and not be like confined to like this challenge. But yeah, so I literally just watched it, so I was a little bit behind on it, but I don't feel like I missed anything. I still would if I had to choose tomorrow, I would watch the original.
Yeah, again, very different movies, but I like the original better. All right, so that's the remake drinking game. Let's talk about
Got a little
speak.
drunk on that one, dude.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
That was, yeah.
just wait. I have another
I
game
drank
planned
like
later.
I think it was like six. I chose the remake. That was
Yeah,
rough.
I have a game later that might really fuck you up. But
What? Uh-oh.
but before we get there, let's talk about Speak No Evil,
Okay.
which I'll give you the plot of
I
it.
can speak.
Nice, nice. I'll give you the plot of it. So there's an American family, a man, a husband, a wife, and a little daughter are on vacation, or not on vacation, sorry. They're just kind of like wandering around, apparently England, and they meet another family, a husband, a wife, and a little son. And the family they meet asks them to kind of stay with them in the British countryside, and they stay with them. And as they stay with this family, they kind of see that there is a dark side to them and might be some deadly secrets to them. I don't know if I gave a good example of plot, but it's like a family is staying with another family who may or may not be a bunch of killers. And that's the plot. It's a remake of a 2022 Danish-Dutch film of the same name. It is by James Watkins, the director of Eden Lake. I actually really liked Eden Lake. I did not like this film though. And there's a few things
What?
I really didn't like this movie, to be honest with you. I just felt that it took like forever to get going. There were just so many instances, and I know we're gonna get into this, where it's just like the movie could have just like ended, or like a lot of it didn't make any sense to me. And right from the beginning, you knew where this was gonna go. Like it was kind of like you're just waiting for it to get there, and it like took an hour for it
Yeah.
to really get anywhere. And like the last half hour is like kind of full on home invasion. But even that kind of, by the time you got to there, I was kind of like, all right, like I don't care anymore. And the other thing I don't like about it is everybody in this movie, even the protagonists, are really unlikable. Like I really don't like the protagonist couple. Like they're annoying, they're weak. Like, the James McAvoy who plays the big bad in this one is really
Yeah,
good.
Patty.
Yeah, Patty, who's like the crazy, well, not crazy, but like the really, evil person in this movie. He's really good. Like he's great at playing that role. And I think the woman that he was with that played his wife was really good too. But again, very unlikable, despicable people. But everybody was despicable. So again, I just didn't care. And like, so basically, like this family, and I forget their names. They're staying with again James McAvoy and his family, and you could tell they don't really like James McAvoy or the wife, but yet they stay for like this long time. Like there's so many times where they could have left and like should have left, but like didn't. And like I don't know why they decided to stay so long. It just seemed like, why would you be here? And like the couple's like going through their own issues. Like you could tell they're on the verge of a divorce basically for various reasons. And it's like, why would you be here? Like in this uncomfortable place, wouldn't you just want to get home and sort that? Maybe they're trying to avoid dealing with their actual problems by staying here. I don't really know. I just didn't get it. And I'm just like, these people seem crazy and evil, and you don't even like them. They're not even fun. Like, why wouldn't you get out? Like, but they never do. They just, and even when they try to leave, they keep coming back. It just like, it didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, so I think just kind of like that first impression of Patty and Kira when they were on vacation, they were like the fun couple, and they were probably the other couple on this vacation that probably reminded them of themselves. They had a young boy, they had a young girl. So I felt like they had like some commonalities between them. And clearly this dad just like lost his job and he really had like nothing going on. So I think this was kind of an opportunity for them to get away and escape whatever it was going on, at home, and to be with this other couple who appeared to be fun on vacation. Obviously, once they get to the guy's house, it doesn't look like a house for someone who claimed to be a doctor, which is what James McAvoy had claimed when they were on vacation. It was kind of like a rundown,
It
kind
was a
of like
shithole.
farmhouse
Yeah.
barn looking thing.
Yeah.
But I think they were just being kind of polite and they wanted to like go through the motions. And I think, I don't think there were red flags yet until they really just started talking, and they kind of see like their diverging political views, their parenting views, and things like that. There was that part where they made the goose and they made the wife eat it knowing, that she was a vegetarian. And I think that kind of like is the theme of this entire film, that even though that woman was a vegetarian, she still ate the goose because she had like that pressure of kind of being polite and didn't want that confrontation of like you're a guest in these people's home and they open up their home to you and they cook for you and you don't want to seem like you're a jerk and not eat their food. And, I was, a vegetarian for a very, very, very long time. And I dealt with it all the time with people kind of criticizing me and mocking me and always be like, oh, just eat this, just do that. And it's like, I'm kind of surprised that she didn't put her foot down there. And right then and there, I knew where this was going to go. I did see the original, but I'm like, yeah, this is going to go the same way. They're going to kind of, I guess the easiest way to say it is roll with the punches and kind of get through this. It was supposed to be a weekend. How bad could it be? you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
and
No.
I think we do see how bad it could be, but how bad could it be? It's 48 hours. You go to bed, it's like one day left, so how bad could it be? And I think, James McAvoy did an awesome job because he really made 48 hours seem like the most torture tense, anxiety-filled 2 days that I've ever seen in my life. And I understand you didn't like it, but I felt a lot of like not really fear or anything like that, but I felt anxiety, you know. I'm like, this sucks. If I was here, I'm like, this sucks, you know.
Yeah, so a couple of things there that you actually made me think. So like number one, like you're right, because I noticed that right from the beginning. I'm like, why is she not speaking up about this? Like I know a lot of vegetarians and I don't care where they are, they're not eating that. Like they're gonna say something. They're gonna like they're not they're used to it. They're used to being like, oh, I don't eat meat and this is why. And I guess maybe it does show like how weak this couple is that they're just going to go along with everything. And that's why I guess they continue to kind of go along, even though they do seem miserable. And like you said, it's like, okay, it's a weekend, I could survive it. In my head, I didn't realize it was a weekend. It seemed to me that they were there for like a week or two. Like, and maybe that's because,
No, it's
like
a
you said,
weekend.
it's like the most torturous weekend. So now that you say it's only 2 days, I feel a little different because I'm thinking like, when are they gonna leave? Like, because to me, I'm like, you go stay with them for like 2 days, then you get the fuck out. I'm thinking it's like day 4 or 5 and they're still here. Okay, so that makes me feel a little different. And maybe it's just like what like it felt like to me. It felt like they were there a lot longer than 2 days. But like you said, that's just how they were. So it's making a little more sense to me now. And again, I do get that these are you have this couple, right? You have this guy who you could tell that like his wife is kind of like beating him down. He's been emasculated. He's kind of like a beta male. And this is like his one thing to like it's kind of like that movie The Coffee Table. Like we're gonna stay here because like I'm making a
Yeah,
decision.
he's putting his foot down. Yeah. And I feel like he kind of idolizes Patty a little bit. Like, even though
Because he's the
he
alpha. He's
claims
like an
he,
alpha male, you know?
yeah, like he didn't have any qualities of a doctor. He was just like a man. He was like a dude, and he does like crazy shit, like, hunting and fixing things and stuff like that. And of course, the dad, which I can't remember his name. Is it Lewis or something like that? I don't know. I thought I had it written down somewhere, but they always do this like in every film. It's a little annoying. Of course, he's from the city. He's the big city guy, so he doesn't know anything. He's not smart enough to understand what the country folk are doing and stuff like that. And of course, he's like like a wimp and stuff like that. And that kind of annoys me. Like, I'm a city person. Like, I could fix a flat tire. I could do a lot of things. So I hate that like trope that if you're from the city, you're an idiot, and of course these people always have the edge on you because they know the country. But yeah, that's the exact trope that they played on here, and that kind of pressured them into making a lot of decisions that they probably wouldn't have made. I mean, I'm thinking about that first night. That first night, they're going to dinner, and like this weird man shows up, and they find out that he's going to be babysitting their daughter
Yeah,
and
like
this
who
other
would tolerate
boy.
that?
Like, there's absolutely no way any parent on earth would let this guy he's the neighborhood babysitter. I don't give a fuck who this guy is. This guy is not staying with my daughter. I don't know this guy. You may leave your son with him, but I'm not leaving my daughter with him. So either we bring the kids with us or we don't go. But they didn't say that. They actually leave their kid with this stranger. They're traveling with this couple. They don't even know where they're going. They end up at this dinner that gets a little spicy in the middle of it. What was that? Like I don't even know if it was real or fake, some sort of like blowjob scene or something like that, like in the middle of the dinner. And it's like they didn't just be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, stop. This is weird.
Yeah, just to
Like,
jump in on that.
stop.
So like not only was it like this strange man babysitter, it's a strange man who looked filthy, who barely spoke English and I like was from Syria or some war-torn country. Yeah, it's like no parent. Like I get these people are weak, like they wouldn't have done that, right? Like so it was odd. You're right, the dinner was really weird where James McAvoy's wife, like I believe pretends to give him head under the table and it's all a big goof. Apparently there was another scene that they filmed where the James McAvoy and his wife dance with the other guy. His name's Ben, who played by Scoot McNairy. They do like this weird they do like a weird three-way kind of like it's like implied that they're trying to hook up with him while the wife is watching, but they cut that out. So apparently it gets even freakier than what they showed in the movie. But you're and at that point you'd be like they have to like you like yeah, it just seems like they just made all of these decisions that were most people wouldn't have made these decisions. So to me it's like it's just hard to watch because it's just like, why are you doing this? Like, what you think was going to happen? And I do think when they do tell you the twist, like even though you see it coming, like I thought it was a good twist, like a good reasoning for why James McAvoy is doing what he's doing. But again, like these people like could have left a lot of like I know, and again, I guess you look at it like, well, I would have left, but I guess these people were just like they're just fucked up, weak people.
This couple, like they just did not want to have like any sort of issues, or it was so forced that they wanted to just seem like nice people that they were actually making the wrong decisions. And that wasn't like the only instance. The next instance would obviously be when their daughter Agnes wasn't in her room,
Oh yeah.
and the mother is looking for her, and she's sleeping in the same bed as Patty and Kira, which was, again, it was super creepy. It was the same night that there was this animated kind of blowjob scene. So these people are, they're a little different than you are, and you would see your daughter there, and you'd be like, you know what, man, I'm getting out of here. And they actually had some common sense, and they did leave, and I saw it right from the beginning. I knew that girl Agnes was gonna really screw them with that stupid fucking uh pet teddy bear rabbit thing that she had. And they left, but they had to go back and get it because she left it in the house. Now, that would never happen, because if a kid is attached that much to a stuffed animal, it would be attached to them all the time. That wouldn't be the one thing that you forgot. You'd forget your shoe. You would not forget your favorite toy. So I found that so annoying. And I found it even more annoying that the parents weren't just like, fuck you. That was weird. You don't know what we're going through. We're going to keep driving. Because, as a father, I probably would have been like, no way are we going back. Now, I don't have a kid, but I'm sorry. I'll give you $100 when we get home and some candy, and we'll figure it out. But there's no way I would have went back to that house, because as weird as it was for the daughter, it was 10 times more awkward for the parents.
And actually, you're messing up the timeline there because, like, what happens is they discover their daughter in bed with this couple. They are about to leave, but then they're convinced to stay because the wife has some explanation or something like that. So then they stay even longer, and then they witness like the James McAvoy being somewhat abusive to the son. The daughter
Oh yeah,
finds
yeah,
out
you're
some
right.
bad shit that's going on and finds out that like, oh my God, like these people are like evil and abusing their son. And that's when they fake some shit. They have a whole plan to leave. That's when they leave, and that's when the stuffed animal thing happens. So it's like they should have left way before that happened. But then like this is the point where like, oh my God, we got to get out of here because these people are dangerous. This guy might kill us all. Oh, you forgot your stuffed animal? Okay, let's go back and get it. Like that makes no sense too. It's like I get it, like your kid is crying and you want to make them happy, but you literally are leaving a situation where you think your lives are in danger and you're gonna go back for a toy. Like again, just decision, bad decision after bad decision. And just to kind of like get to like the last 30 minutes of the movie, because it does turn into like a home invasion type thing. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Straw Dogs, but not as good. What I hated about this last 30 minutes is you have James McAvoy and his wife, and then another guy that they just happen to work with, who are all skilled hunters. They know the house, and yet they are all overtaken by this weak man and weak woman who get away basically without a scratch on them. Like they don't even get, they're never in danger. But yet they fucking kill like all the, like, not to spoil it, but like, fuck it. Like they get away and like everybody, like, it's insane. Like there's no way, like if they were gonna do this kind of thing, and maybe you have them get away, but they should have gotten fucked up a little bit. Like it should have been hard for them. It seemed like it was like very easy for them to outsmart and outwit and ultimately kill these three people who have been doing this for like 15 years. Made no sense to me. Like they again, the final scene of them driving away, none of them are bloody. They're not injured. Like it was so silly. Like ridiculous,
Yeah,
ridiculous.
and I think why that was so ridiculous, because that was the rewrite. That was the difference from, the original. The original did not end at all like that. The original was like one of the most ominous, brutal film endings I've ever seen in my entire life. And I was kind of expecting something to reach that level of insanity for the end of this film, but they Americanized it
Yeah, they
and they
water it
really like
down.
kind of watered it down. And yeah, it made, made these people the hero, and it made like this wife, the final girl suddenly, she's taking charge and she knows how to take down these hunters and these not only hunters, but these crazy people who have killed many times in their life and don't think anything of it. And she has to cross that threshold of not only attacking someone but killing someone and also doing it better than them. And again, it was a little far-fetched and it was a little ridiculous at times, and some of their escapes were kind of silly. They were kind of banana peels, as I like to say, where like, they close a door and someone opens the wrong one, like, just like really like lazy kind of writing. I think they could have did something really hard at the end of this, because the whole time you're thinking, the whole time you're waiting, and just to go back to like, that scene where you said they should have left, they find out like the shit's going on. It's like you're waiting for that Patty character to really just kind of like snap and do his thing. So that's really where the tension is building. And then when he finally does, he's like a buffoon.
Yeah, all of a
He's like
sudden he
he's
goes
like
from being this
yeah, he's like
calculated, fucking perfect, like killing machine to like an idiot. And also like
he's a buffoon.
he had the advantage. It's his home. Like in home invasion movies, like one of the reasons why you could suspend disbelief that the people like who are in the home getting invaded survive is because they know the scenario. They know like where all the doors are, where all the weapons are. This is a strange place that they don't know. James McAvoy has lived here for God knows how long. There's no way. Like he has the advantage. Like how would you, you know what I mean? Like it was just silly. And like you said, it's bad writing, banana peel. And again, they could have done so much more to like make this more tense and just yeah, I get they like don't want to do the same ending as the other one because that is a real I didn't see it, but I've read what the ending was and it's incredibly dark. And I get that that would have been too much of a bummer for American audiences, and this would have like I mean, I don't think it did really well anyway, but it really would have bombed. So I get that they couldn't do that because whatever reason, but you at least could have made it more like believable. Like again, they should have been like they were never I never felt that they were in danger. I never felt that they were in danger. Meanwhile, like they should have been in terrible danger. So yeah, again, there's just a lot of missed opportunities with this movie in general. It could have been a lot better than it was, and that's kind of I think that's one of the reasons why I disliked it so much because it could have been a lot better if they just had done different things, wrote it better, directed it better. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and I want to. I didn't love, I didn't love this film. I just didn't think it was a bad film. I did watch the original in 2022. At the time, it was just such a morbid, evil feel, and that stayed with me. And then when I realized that this was basically a remake of that, I was like, "Oh, I can't believe I have to watch that again." But I didn't watch that again. This was much different, and really the tension was building up before everything happens, but once the plot unfolds, it really kind of deflated, and that tension almost dropped. And like you said, even during like, the big chase and the big, home invasion scene, it never felt like it was going to get that bad. And there's always that silliness of people running across roofs. I've been alive a very long time in my life. I've been in some shit. I never once jumped on a roof and started running across it, but yet in every film, like that's like the big escape. It's like, let's get out of here. And there's always the bad guy chasing you on the roof. No one does that. No one does it. Okay.
Because
It
you'd
doesn't
fall.
exist.
Because you'd fall right off the roof.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. It's a roof. You need equipment to do that. You can't just be on a roof, especially for this house, which was like, it was like an old house. It was like probably like 80 feet in the air, and you're like running across the roof while it's on fire. And sounds like another plot of another film that we saw. It was just a little ridiculous. And the only other thing I want to say about this is there was that standoff at that one point where James McAvoy, he has a gun, and I think he's pointing it at his daughter Agnes, And then Ben has a gun too, and he's pointing it at James McAvoy. And every single film, it's always the same thing, man. It's like this guy has a gun to your daughter's head, so you drop your gun. Uh, Maybe it's that I'm not a parent, but why would you drop your gun if I think if you're both pointing guns at each other, that's even. And as soon as you drop it, you're basically at the will of this crazy person who already has a gun to your daughter's head. And as soon as you put yours down, you're actually putting her more in danger because he knows if he shoots her, you're going to shoot him. So I never understand that. And I hate that's always what happens. Like in every single film, it's like the good guy has to drop his gun. I'm sorry, man. I'm not dropping my gun because as long as I have it, you can't do shit either. So, I mean, that's my opinion on that. And it's just another trope. And it was a lazy trope. And and a banana peel had to save them,
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
to get out of that. I mean, like a comet has to come down and hit the guy with the gun to your daughter's head because you put your gun down, and only in a film that would happen. So I hate like when you're like in that mood and like, oh man, this is tense, and then they do something stupid like that, and it just really bothers me because I'd be like, no man, I'm gonna fucking shoot you. You do anything, let my daughter go.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
you let her go, I'm gonna shoot you. That's
Yeah,
it.
once that scene happened is when I officially checked out because I was like, okay, the
Yeah,
rest.
it's like
I
stop.
looked and I'm like, okay, there's like 35 minutes left. I'm like, nothing injured. Like this is going to be bullshit for the next 35 minutes, and I was correct in that. But like the how do they get away in that moment was just absolutely just again poor writing, just banana peel shit. So okay, so like we do have another movie to talk to, so let's wrap this one up. Okay, so what we do here for those of you who are coming in for the first time is with the movies we dive deep on, we rate them on a scale of 0 to 5 bloody knives, 0 being the worst, 5 being the best, and the number of bloody knives that I give a movie is the number of sips Jerry needs to drink, and vice versa. And feel free to drink along with us at home. Jerry's going to be lucky. I know he's got a high proof there, but I'm only going to give this a 1.5. And that is because, like,
Whoa.
again, is it a bad movie? Yeah, I mean, debatable. I think if it was 90 minutes, it would have been more watchable. But I'm never gonna watch it again, and a lot of it pissed me off like too much. So I'm giving it 1.5. I will hold to drink till I get your rating. But before I get your rating, would you recommend I watch the original? Would I like that better, or should I just not even bother?
It's a slower burn, but a lot more tense. And I would say the payoff is worth it.
All
Yes.
right, I might check it out then. All right, so I gave 1.5. What are you giving it?
I'm giving this film, I'm giving it a 2. It's not the worst film I ever saw. If I had to make a choice, I would watch the original as opposed to this. I'm giving it a 2 because I think James McAvoy was great. He played like this evil asshole really well, and I got to give props for that. So a
Yeah, no,
2.
he's great. He's really good. All right, so let's drink. Cheers.
Cheers. 1.5 is easy.
Woo! Could do that all day, baby. All right, so that was Speak No Evil. Now we're going to talk about the Salem's Lot remake, which just kind of dropped on Max without like I didn't even know this movie. Like I had heard about this movie coming out like a year or two ago. It was actually supposed to come out in theaters, and then they pulled it. They say not because of quality, but because they needed more content for Max. Who knows why the reason why they pulled it was, but they kind of shelved it and now just finally just dropped it in October. But before we kind of get into talking about Salem's Lot, it is a movie that was the based on a novel by Stephen King, and I do have a Stephen King drinking game for us to play.
What?
And I was gonna do like thumbs up, thumbs down, but I feel like we're probably gonna thumbs down most Stephen King movies because I'm not a huge fan. So this one might be a little challenging for you, but maybe it won't because you have 50-50 chance. And I have a list of I think 10 movies or so that are based on Stephen King works, and
Oh
some
my
of them
God.
are based on novels, and some of them are based on short stories or novellas. And you have to guess, is it a novel or is it like a short story or a novella? So you have 50-50 chance
Oh my
of
God.
guessing it right. And if you get it right, I drink. If you get it wrong, you drink. And if you're playing at home, decide how you want to do this, if you want to drink with me or Jerry, but that's the game and you're going to play it.
All right. If you just just want to give me a second here. I'm gonna FaceTime Melissa Rose really quick, and I'm gonna get right through this because this is definitely her thing. This is not mine. Oh man, I'm so nervous right
You
now.
should bring your whole horror trivia team next time, and we're gonna do this.
So if I get it wrong, I drink. That's what it
If
is.
you get it right, I drink. And again, you have a 50-50 chance
But
of getting it
if
right.
I get it right, you drink. But if I get it wrong, I drink. Oh man, this is
I kind
tough.
of
This is
feel like I'm
brutal.
you explaining the rules 20 times.
Yeah, because
Now you know what I
no,
go through.
I don't want to believe the rules. That's the problem because I already know where this is gonna go.
Yeah.
So
And again, like I probably didn't know some of these. So, all right. So I'm going to start it off.
great.
And again, get what you got. Okay.
50-50.
The Mist.
Novella.
Short story. You're correct. I drank.
Yes.
Which I have mixed feelings about that movie. It's not good, but I think it has one of the bleakest endings out of anything I've ever seen.
It's all
It's like,
right. Yeah.
yeah, I put it on every now and then. And every time I put it on, I'm kind of like annoyed by it, but like I do watch it a lot. The Dead Zone
Novella.
novel. You drink.
Oh, damn it.
And again, it's novella or short story.
Oh,
Versus novel.
it's not.
So it's novel or novella short story. So novella short novel, right? So these are either
Okay.
full works.
Can I just
Just
say
pick one.
novella?
Yeah, say novella.
Okay. All
And I'll
right.
click. Okay. All right, ready?
All right, cool.
Gerald's Game.
Um, Novel.
You are correct. I will drink.
Oh, yes, man. So I'm going against my better judgment here.
Yeah, which was decent up until like the halfway mark, and then it just got ridiculous. Misery.
It feels like a novel.
Is that your answer?
Yes.
Okay, you're right. Novel.
Oh.
1408.
Novella.
Correct. Short story.
Yes, I'm
Um,
kicking ass in this game.
So I literally almost rewatched this the other day and I like did a movie fair challenge instead. And I was trying to make this fit, but I was like, oh, it doesn't fit. I was gonna do this for isolation, but it doesn't make sense. Maximum Overdrive.
Hmm.
I thought because they're like isolated in a truck stop, but I'm like, let me watch something that's more like
That's not
backwoods kind of
bad
thing.
though. Yeah, no,
I was
no,
gonna
I can
watch it.
see that.
Yeah, yeah. And I know we used to watch this movie all the time, like back in the fucking 80s.
And this is the only film that he wrote and directed. Um, I don't know about if it's a short story or I'm gonna go. I am going to go novella.
Correct. It's a short story called Trucks.
Yes.
I will drink.
Oh, that's what it's called. Trucks. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Silver Bullet.
Nice. I don't know. Novel.
Short story.
Damn it.
Secret Window.
I mean, it's a battle writer. I want to say novel.
Well, you would be wrong. It's a short story. This next one, believe it or not, we actually went on a double date to see many, many years ago. Thinner.
Oh my God, you were there? Holy shit, I remember
Yeah, yeah.
that. I just didn't remember it was a double date.
I forget
Holy
who I
cow.
brought. I forget who my date was, but I do remember seeing
I
this with
don't
you.
I don't know who my date was either. Um, let's go novella.
Novel.
What? That's
I know. How was that a fucking novel? That like the plot of it was like, and again, I haven't seen that movie since we saw it, so maybe it's more complex, but it seems like something that would have been like a 20 pager. Children of the Corn.
I'm losing it here.
These are tough. Like if you're not a Stephen King
Yeah,
fan, which I'm not, like you would think
I'm
some certain
not. I'm
ones are sort
not.
of
I don't.
same.
I so, so I don't want anyone to think that I'm illiterate. I read a lot of horror literature. I just don't like Stephen King. I'm sorry. So again,
I'm
don't
with
send me
you.
that
I'm with
hate
you.
mail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can send me hate mail, but I'm just not a fan. I'm gonna go novel. It feels like a novel.
Short story.
Damn it.
I
I'm
know. See
losing it. I'm
that
losing
was
the
a
game now.
that was a trick. I would have picked novel too because it seems they made so many fucking movies like all of a short story is crazy.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh, it's going downhill quick.
I have two more left. Two more left. First one is Lawnmower Man, which was an
I don't
awful
even know what
fucking
this
movie.
is.
A stupid
I
movie. It
never
really is.
saw it. I
It
can't
was terrible.
imagine. All right.
Unwatchable. Unwatchable.
My instinct because it's stupid is novella, but it's probably a novel, so I'm gonna go with novel.
Okay, you're wrong. It's short story.
See, I'm losing it.
Okay, we have one more left. Do you want to do a wager on this one or no?
Yes, yes. Even though I was good in the first half and I lost it on the second half, maybe I could pull it together at the end. Yes, I'll do three sips.
All right, so if Jerry gets it right, I take 3 sips. If Jerry gets it wrong, he takes 3 sips. And I've never seen this movie. They did do a remake of it recently. The original has Drew Barrymore, I believe. It's Firestarter.
Oh, this is a guess. I'm trying to go with the opposite of what I'm thinking because it hasn't been working. So I'm gonna go with novel.
Ah, fuck you. You're correct.
Yes. Yes. Finally won.
I thought that was gonna trick you.
Yes.
I thought that was gonna trick you because
Oh.
you're like, how is that a fucking novel? But yeah, that's a novel. All right,
I
and
was trying to go with the opposite. It felt like a
uh,
novella, and I'm like, let me go novel because, of course, something that's stupid would be a novel.
all right, and that is the Stephen King game.
That was brutal, but what I learned is I'm still not going to read any Stephen King. I'm sorry. I'll check out some Bret Easton Ellis. Check that out, people.
So yeah, so when I was like probably 12 years old, maybe younger, Stephen King was kind of my entry into horror fiction, and I
Okay.
did I did read a lot of his books again when I was 12, and I was a fan then. As an adult though, like I am definitely not a fan, not of his writing because I haven't read any of these in so long, but of the movies and just like again, the books are long-winded and things like that. But I did read Salem's Lot. I believe Salem's Lot was the first Stephen King book I read. I do not remember anything about it though, because again, I read it when I was 12, but I must have liked it because I did read other Stephen King books after that. So basically, what the plot of Salem's Lot is, and we're going to talk about the remake, not about the miniseries or the various things they did over the years. Apparently, Toby Hooper directed the miniseries, which I did not know and I've never seen. It is basically the plot is an author, Ben Mears, returns to his hometown of Jerusalem's Lot to write a new book basically about his life. And at the same time he gets there, vampires are coming to take over the town, and actually one head vampire who's trying to basically turn the entire town into vampires. The people figure this out pretty quickly and try to stop it. It's interesting how they figure it out so quick because I wouldn't jump to vampire like right when weird shit starts
Jumps a
happening,
vampire.
but they did and they were correct, so they made the right move, and that's it. And basically it's Ben and a couple of other people trying to survive as the town gets taken over by vampires. Again, was not excited to watch this movie, but it's new, and we do make a promise to you all to watch new movies, so you don't have to. And yeah, I'm gonna let you give your opinion on this first because I think I went off on a rant about Speak No Evil. So would love to know your thoughts before I get into mine.
Sure, yeah. So I watched the original Sam's Lot long, long, long time ago, and the only thing I remember from it is that it was long, but there was always like these standout scenes that you always think about, those classic, iconic horror shots. So I was kind of curious to see like what this remake would bring. And when I put this on, and I literally just watched this probably like 2 days ago, finally showed up on streaming. I think it was shot beautifully.
Agreed. I agree. I
Small
agree.
New England town. Yeah, cool atmosphere. I think the time frame in the 70s, it was refreshing for me to watch something in the 70s with no technology to deal with. Um, for me, there's almost like this evil innocence to the 70s where a lot of bad shit happened, but you just didn't hear about it. And I think that was the perfect setting for this exact story because like something like this happening now would be like kind of dumb, but in the 70s it kind of made sense, especially in a small kind of town. So, you kind of buy into it. And right off the bat, I'm not a huge vampire genre fan. I don't love vampires. I did some reading on this just to kind of set my expectations. And from what I understood, they really wanted to make vampires scary again and kind of pull away from like that sexiness that's kind of been taking over the vampire genre lately. And I would have to say, out of the two, I prefer the sexy vampire.
I would agree.
So, um, yeah. So going back to like what was scary, I'm like, all right, then I need to be scared. It was slow, man. Uh,
Yeah, it's
a
two
lot of
hours
things
long
are
too. Yeah.
crawling. Yeah, and I was trying to figure out like, really who this story is is about. Like who are the main characters? Is it Ben the writer, or is it the kids? Because there's like two very distinct stories going on simultaneously, and one is with, Mark and Ralphie and Danny, and the other one is with who are the kids, and the other one is like with Ben, Susan, and the adults, and two very distinct stories. I'm gonna be honest with you, for at the bat, I kind of like the kids story better, so I was kind of more interested when they were showing them. I was a little less interested in Ben and the love interest and all that stuff going on. I think this film was probably more interesting than the original. And I also think they captured those iconic shots properly. But outside of that, I mean, it was just kind of like a flat line almost. It wasn't enough. It wasn't exciting. I didn't think Barlow the vampire was very scary, and I didn't love Ben as the hero. So I did like Mark, which is like 11-year-old kid. I thought he was funny. That felt like a little like kind of like Stranger Things kind of thing going on there, and I kind of like that. But outside of that, it was a flat line for me. That's my high level kind of thought, you know.
And right in the beginning, like they show you Ben, and he's boring. Like the actor they
He's bored as
cast,
hell,
or
yeah.
he's just not interesting, and his love interest also boring and not interesting. So immediately I'm like, oh God, we're gonna be with these people 2 hours. Then they show the kids, and I'm like, oh, and like, and most Stephen King things have kids getting bullied and stuff like that's kind of his thing that he does. I'm assuming he got picked on a bunch as a kid, which again, that's not unique to a lot of people, but he does do a lot of movies. But I would agree that what was the kid's name? The
Mark.
Mark, he was really good, and I did like his storyline better. And one of my favorite things is like towards the very end, he's like driving a car and like fucking up all this shit
Yes,
to save the
yes.
day, and he can't even see over the fucking wheel, but he's just like
Yeah.
kicking ass. Mark is badass, like he's really badass, and
He,
I,
he
I
he he was badass. He was
yeah,
definitely
I
the
was
the
more interested
hero of the
in his
story.
story for sure, and when he was on screen was a lot better. I do agree it was shot beautifully. It's very stylistic. I do think there's some interesting choices though, like how they framed certain things, especially when some of the like scary shit was happening. Like they did a lot of stuff where like you see something at like the very bottom of the frame, and then like you don't see like all of it, or like things
Yeah.
happen really fast. And I think that was probably, maybe it was artistic, maybe it was budget, where they were trying to like hide how the vampires looked. I agree. Like, I don't think the vampires were necessarily scary. I think the way they did the glowing eyes was kind of like didn't look that cool. It wasn't that interesting. I think they were trying to do like similar to like a 30 Days of Night, which they are scary, and it just wasn't that. And I think again, getting back to the movie in general, the parts that were supposed to be scary like weren't scary. They were kind of just like, okay, like it was kind of like they were just like took the book and said, okay, we're gonna have these scenes, but like didn't really create a lot of atmosphere. So yeah, again, I didn't think I was gonna like this movie. I definitely did not like it. It wasn't like I hated the movie. It was kind of like like you said, a flat line, like a whatever. Like, did this need to get made? Probably not.
So I did think, the most iconic scene in both films or miniseries or whatever it was is Danny floating outside of Mark's window. That's without a doubt, that's the iconic scene. That's what you think of when you think of Salem's Lot. You're not remembering like the vampires or anything like that. That was it. That's creepy, and that was creepy as hell. And I thought they did a really good job at capturing that in this one as well. I felt a little creepiness. You kind of put yourself in like that 11-year-old kind of like mind set, and you're like, what the fuck would you do if you saw someone floating outside your
And you're like your
window and
best
it's your
friend.
friend?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like your friend, and it would just really bug you out. So I did think they did a great job capturing that. What annoyed me super, super quick was some of their choices with the whenever they made like the crucifix, they were like glowing for some reason, and it was like cartoonish, I guess,
It was
is
silly.
what I'm thinking. It was, yeah, and it's like once they did it once, I was like, All right," but then they kept doing it like this all of a sudden, like these two like sticks that they tape together all of a sudden is going to start glowing and have like this magical power, almost like a superhero. And it was just like they were trying to like tap into like a different like fan base, and that's probably not at all watching this film. So I don't think they needed to do that. And like all like the vampires flying around and like these glowing crucifixes. It was just kind of stupid, you know?
Yeah.
And what I thought was probably the stupidest thing was, I guess it was the doctor when she gets bit
Oh
by the
yeah.
vampire and they essentially suck out the poison like with a
It
needle.
was
Like
silly.
it
It
was
was
so
silly.
stupid. It was dumb. It's like why like if they really leaned into the vampire tropes, like this almost probably set like half the vampire tropes out there, the crucifixes, the holy water, the sunlight, all those things. Why did you throw that in? Because that doesn't make any sense at all. You should have just like, have her bathe in garlic while you're at it because it was
Yeah.
just silly, it was just dumb,
And the movie
I didn't.
felt
Go ahead. No, that's all
No, I
right.
was gonna say the movie felt like a comic book. Like that's what it felt like. And I know they like
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
references
yeah.
to reading comic books, and I don't know if like, this was in the original Salem's Lot or like it was like the Lost Boys where they like learn how to fight the vampires from reading comics. And maybe Stephen King did that first. I don't know. I just know Lost Boys. But the one thing I just really wanted to kind of touch on that like annoys the shit out of me, and I know this is like vampire trope, but I feel like in 2024, like we need to stop. Like the crucifixes, or not even crucifix, a cross stopping a vampire just honestly makes no sense because like you take this creature that's like this undead creature and now you're like assuming that Christianity is like a real thing and that
Yeah.
vampires give a shit about Christianity. And maybe there's some kind of explanation to why a cross and vampires like make sense, but to me it just seems silly. Like you said, I'm gonna put up two sticks and this undead creature is going to be afraid of it.
Afraid
makes
of it.
it makes no sense. And it's the same thing with like exorcism stuff. It's like if there really is a devil, like, and it's this demon, is he gonna give a shit about Jesus Christ? Like, it's like now you're assuming that like like Islam and Judaism and the billion other religions in the world like are irrelevant. It just makes no sense to me. Like again, the sunlight, okay, cool. Even garlic, I don't know what the point of it was, but fine. But the crucifix thing bothers me so much, and like we just got to stop it. Like there's got to be a better way. And like the fact that it's so prevalent in this movie, there's a lot of the cross stopping vampires in this movie. It happens constantly. And it's just
Nonstop.
it's
Yeah.
silly. It's silly. It's like it again, I get this has like been canon forever, but like no more. Like that's got to stop. It doesn't I appreciate when movies, I think Abigail didn't like the cross didn't matter in Abigail. And she kind of laughed at it, which I thought was kind of cool. It's like it doesn't make any sense. Like a creature that is undead is not going to give a shit about any religion. It's not going to stop them. It's just stupid. And again, like you said, they just put two sticks together, and oh my god, it's not
It
even
was
like
like those popsicles
yeah,
sick,
it's not even
like
like
those
holding a
things. It's
cross with
like
Jesus's image. Like
yeah,
it's like, and even
yeah.
that,
It's
it's like was constructed by man. It's like that the cross actually means anything. Like it wouldn't mean
yeah.
anything to this creature. So that bothers me so much. And like the fact that it was such a big part of this movie was like it just took me out of it. Like, and the fact that they made it like they're glowing now and like now they're not glowing and
Oh,
like oh you gotta if you don't believe they're gonna glow.
it's like
It's
a
like
sword. Yeah,
it was so stupid,
it's
so stupid.
terrible.
That drove me crazy. And then the other thing that like I thought was kind of interesting, it's like I didn't get the point. Like, so was the point of like the main vampire to just make the world into vampires? Was that like what they wanted to do? Or like I didn't understand like what their goal was. Because like if you make the whole world into vampires, then what is there to eat? Like what's the like why would that even be a thing?
Yeah, I mean, there was that little section where Ben was talking, I guess, to the sheriff or something like that, and they were asking, about the town, and it's like, what are they trying to do? Like kill off the town? And he's like, this town is already dead, and that's why the vampires came here, and that's why they're able to take over. So I feel like at the bare minimum they wanted to like have like a home base and take over that town and basically just have people kind of work for them and take care of them and then they could probably leave the town to feed and do the other things they need to do. But I think, yeah, I think the point of this was really to convert the entire town into a vampire army. Yeah, I think that was the whole point of it.
And then what? Like the army's just gonna come in and like nuke you. Like
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna tell you what bothered me about this film. So Ben comes to town like what, like last fucking week, and he meets Susan, and they go on like a date or two, and it's implied that they sleep together, and this is all within like a week, maybe, maybe a week and a half,
if even.
and
I think it
then
said like within
there's
like a
that
day or two.
trope. Yeah. Yeah, oh man, she moves
I
quick.
I know where
There's
you're
that.
going with the trope. I know where you're
Yeah,
going, but go
yeah,
for it.
yeah. There's that trope where she gets bit, and now she's turning into a vampire, and it's very similar to the zombie trope. And of course, Ben does not want to believe that Susan is really turning into a vampire, even though she does not look or act like Susan anymore, and her eyes are glowing, and she's clearly a vampire, and he is willing to risk his life. She gets pulled out of the safety of the church, and he runs after her, knowing that there's 10, 15, 50 vampires out there waiting to kill him. He ran out there because he is so in love
The woman
with
he
this
just met.
person he
Yeah.
literally met like 4 days ago, and he's willing to risk his life. And it's so stupid. I'm like, well, that sucks. I
I love
mean,
it too. It's like,
like she got
Susan,
bit.
I know you're in there. If you can hear me, this isn't you. Like, you don't even know this
It's like,
fucking
I
thing.
don't even know your last name. She's like, who are you? I didn't even recognize you. You're on the
So
back of the
stupid.
book.
I hate that
It was
shit.
so,
I
I
hate it.
hate that. Like, you wouldn't risk your life for someone that you just met like 4 days ago, like you would get over that really, really quick, especially when it turns into a life and death situation like this turned into. And she was clearly a vampire, and there was no turning back. I mean, he saw other people turn into vampires. So I hate that. And they just try to make like his love is so deep and he cares so much. It's like, it's unbelievable because he literally just met her. Like they went on 2 dates, dude. It's like, get over it, man. And I hated that. And I think the only thing more sillier than that, and probably the last thing I have to say about this is in the final act when like all the vampires for some reason are in the trunks of cars
Yeah, that
at the
was like, I
drive-in,
mean, it
and
was a
they
cool like setup and like shot. Like it was kind of
was
like a cool idea,
it
but
was
that makes no sense. Why would they be there
why
and not in like a house when they've already taken over the town? It was like, yeah, and why would they all be together? It just, yeah, like where they could all be wiped out basically. It made no sense. It was like a cool visual. Like, oh, now they're in this drive-in and like the trunks are popping open and monsters are coming out. Like it looked cool, but you're right, it was silly. Like it was just silly.
but they didn't even act like vampires when they came out. It was more like a zombie
Yeah, huh?
invasion.
Like
It's
they're
like
like,
they kind
what?
of lost, yeah, it's like they lost like all like their vampire characteristics, and they were all just kind of like acting like zombies, kind of slowly walking after Ben and this kid, and basically just waiting to get killed because they were more like zombies than vampires. And I would say I am 95% sure it was not dark outside. It was fucking daylight, man. It was like 5:30 at night, and the sun was out, and I don't even understand how those vampires were even out. It wasn't even like sunset. It was like,
Well, they were in the
midday, it felt
shade. That
like.
the movie screen blocked the
No,
sun.
shade.
It was stupid. It was
No,
stupid.
that
It was
does not
stupid.
count. That does
No, it was
not
stupid.
count. Shade, a vampire. No, you cannot. A vampire would never take that chance of going in shade versus sunlight when it destroys them. They explode the second the sun hits them. They're going to come out in shade. That was silly. That was so stupid. And again, it was a banana peel, and I hated it.
Yeah, I mean, the only good thing about that whole like idea was that the kid drove that car into the fucking
Yeah, yeah,
street
that
and
was
took it out.
awesome.
Like
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
cool. But you're right, it was just stupid. It was silly. And like it was weird how they did like when they did that whole setup, the coloring was weird. It got like really like yellow and orange. It just there's a lot of interesting color choices in this movie, and like some of them like make sense, some of them don't. That like threw me off. Where like, if I'm noticing it, it's probably a problem. One thing I did think was cool, and I started watching this movie with somebody, and they got bored and like tuned out. But the opening scene is like very sepia tone. And I wonder if that was like a tribute to like Nosferatu, and that's why they did it. Because I thought that like, and the
Oh,
person I watched it with
interesting.
was like, "Why is it sepia?" And I was like, "I don't know," but I was like, maybe it's that, which I thought could be kind of cool.
Yeah, and again, the way it started and the way it ended was completely two different things. I loved it. I loved the beginning. It felt like it was gonna be this great atmospheric, creepy, scary vibe thing, and it just got like goofier and goofier as it went on. And I mean, yeah, it's laugh out loud. The kid Mark like driving the car. It was
It was
funny,
funny. It
and I
was
guess
funny.
that was like, yeah, I guess that was like the point of it, but that really takes you out of like the mood of what Salem's Lot is supposed to be, like one of the most iconic, films, out there. It's definitely in the horror canon and it's not going anywhere. This one's not going to join, but the original is. So I just didn't think it was a good remake. And if you asked me, if we were playing the drinking game for this of whether or not the remake or the original is better, I would have a tough choice because I would say the original was just really, really slow. But this one just wasn't good. I don't know. Just wasn't good for me.
Yeah, no, I again, I'm giving this like a worse rating than I gave Speak No Evil to. And that
Oh
is
wow.
I'm gonna give it a one.
A one. Okay. I mean that's brutal, but I don't know if I'm any better. I'm not gonna recommend this. I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm not gonna watch it again. I'm gonna pretend like it doesn't exist. So I guess
Yeah,
I'm gonna give it a one too.
yeah. Let's cheers to that again. Like I don't know what the
All
point
right.
of this movie was other than like a money grab, and then it probably didn't make any money because they dropped it on streaming. So cheers.
Yeah, so yeah, Salem's Lot, pass on that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on that one. I will probably never watch the original either, just because I just don't care enough to watch it. So, yeah, all right. Well, that is our episode. I know Jerry's probably feeling it a little more than I do because he had proof. Although I do feel like I drank a good amount. So that's it. So you could follow us on Instagram at Horrorheads Podcast. You could email us at horrorheadspodcast@gmail.com. Again, check out the Horrorheads movie challenge. I am not sure what movies we're going to talk about next week, but we are hoping to have our guest that we were supposed to have tonight on. So we will see how that plays out. But that's really all I got.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everyone, and
Yeah.
keep listening and give us some fine ratings over on Spotify if you can, and check out the horror challenge. It's a lot of fun.
And next
See
week
you
is
guys next
our
time.
next episode is our 20th episode. So we will cheers to that.
Whoa!
Yeah. All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Weren't supposed to make it past 10.
Night.